matter, Mr. President, of itong psychosocial problems which have emerged, uh, so far sa mga bata, sa aming K to 12 learners, isa ang kaso na talagang documented na makita natin na may relasyon sa COVID. Na sinasabing dahil sa COVID, nag-suicide itong bata. Pero paniwala namin, Mr. President, na ang malaking challenge ngayon sa psychosocial conditions ng ating mga tao sa gobyerno, mga bata, mga teachers, yung general mental health issues. Yung anxiety, Mr. President, hindi naman nagsisisuicide ang mga tao araw-araw, pero yung anxiety, yung takot, at saka yung fears, lumalabas ko minsan yung mga behavior na usually not typical of Filipinos, na nangangaway, mga relationships na sisira, mga bata, lumalaban sa mga parents and so on. Kasama na yung fear sa disease, fear sa walang trabaho, lahat-lahat na ito. Ito ang mas malaking problema para sa amin dahil kung sa suicide, isa pa lang ang aming na-monitor at na-trace talaga namin, na-document. So yung tinatawag natin, Mr. President, na mental resilience ang kailangan, ang challenge.
Good day! Welcome to ANX, adapting to the new experience and life in the new normal amidst the pandemic.
Today we will be tackling about the rising cases of anxiety among the college students around the vicinity of Recto and Mendiola, Manila.
To give us an introduction about our topic, may we call on Mr. Santos, Mr. Palmario, and Ms. Villanueva.
As we know, the COVID-19 pandemic took a toll not only on the physical, mental, and economical health of people, but also in their work and education. In the Philippines, months passed when lockdowns were implemented, resulting to untraced entry of the virus. An increase of the cases was imminent. But let us not dwell much on the background of COVID. Rather, let's talk about how it developed mental health issues and other problems to the students and parents affected by this pandemic. College students are greatly affected by this global pandemic, for they are the prior step to professional life. A study conducted in Luzon shows that among 1,800 respondents from different economic states, educational attainment, age, sex, and other demographics, among all the college students involved in the study, 65.5% of them developed mild to normal cases of anxiety. Another report from Kaleha went viral after it was broadcasted because of trigger warning self-harm. A student took their own life because he and his family could not afford a technologically based education. However, parents are also affected by this pandemic. As said by Francisco, families from middle to high class still develop cases of anxiety. What more for the low income families? Another study shows that 600 parents from a school in the Luzon area shows that 88% of them prefer face-to-face type of education for their children rather than the online setting. Our study dwells on the mental health of college students during this pandemic, which is related to science. How they cope up and push through their education with only using technology and the internet, which relates to technology, and how they develop relationships during these times, which relates to society. Now let's hear from Mr. Palmario.
Thank you, Mr. Kobe, for that clear explanation. Good day, I'm Ryan, and I will explain the stakeholders affected in our study. Not only did our economy suffer because of this pandemic, but also the mental health of our fellow Filipinos. According to July 2020, there are large adjustments have been made by the teachers, professors because they cannot execute the traditional teaching. This sudden change will challenge the teachers to get out of their comfort zone and learn new techniques and strategies so that it can be easy for the students to adjust to this new format, as well as the parents and students. Since the students become more independent and responsible in studying the doing their requirements, their parents will face the challenge of giving their child the emotional and financial support they need in hard times. The result of this study can specifically help universities and staff such as guidance counselors to understand what the student's main problem is so that they can act immediately to avoid the possible negative effects that can harm the well-being of the students under their management. For the significance, this study is significant because the students, parents, schools, and teachers and professors are the stakeholders which will be directly and indirectly affected by the study. Through online platforms, we seek to discuss the importance of the mental health of college students. The research is helpful for the following. First is the students. It may improve their physical health and life expectancy. They will know how to prioritize their mental health, which involves an important responsibility, such as time and effort. It requires a disciplined routine to achieve healthy well being. Second is the government. The outcome of this research can be a source of knowledge and a justification for the government to appeal to those who lost their jobs because of COVID-19 for projects and additional expenditure. Third is the parents. The study's main findings can help parents get the potential impact of anxiety on their kids and become more open and aware of mental health. This result, the study may also educate parents to create manageable family budget. And lastly, to schools and universities, it will benefit the school to understand the key concern of the students, including the guidance counselors and what kind of approach it may need to exhibit, and what kind of management method it needs to imply in handling the well-being of the students. And let's move on to assumptions and limitations. For the assumptions and limitations, we have assumed that there are rising cases of anxiety among college students in the vicinity of Menjola and Recto, Manila. We have sufficient data, but it was addressed internationally, not just in the Philippines. We assume that the other variables that contribute will influence their mental health, and during this pandemic we are right now, we have put our personal experiences as a student. We have also concluded that the growing cases of anxiety are triggered by health constraints that have forced everyone to stay most of the time in their homes. On the other hand, by the time given right now, our actions are limited, so we made some events that will executed not only using webinars and internet, but in personal app. In line with this, during the period of the project's plan, issues with the internet connection could be seen. Also, because the pandemic has only begun last year, there are limited data and research on our issue. But although it is limited, we have ensured that our results and projects will successful for the students as well as for the parents. For our problem three, here is Miss Villanueva to explain it furthermore. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Palmario. Now we will discuss the important part of our project planning, which is the problem tree. The focus of this project is the rising cases of anxiety among the college students around the vicinity of Menjola and Recto, Manila. When the ECQ started, many have changed and many lives were affected. One of these people are college students. The most awaited time of their life was shifted into the online and blended learning. Some felt relief about it, but for the following weeks, it affected each of them, which eventually led to mental health problems. One of the biggest factors that have contributed to the rising cases of anxiety among college students is the poor academic performance. With this, There are three immediate major causes as to why is the cases of anxiety is happening. First, the poor compliance with their school requirement. Second is their lack of motivation. And third, their inability to cope up with the new changes in learning environment. The underlying causes of poor compliance with their school requirement is the poor time management, which leads to not being able to balance their own priorities in life that results to procrastination in doing his or her schoolworks. With this problem, he or she can produce a work that is not competent enough for it to have a good score. Next is about our economy. Companies shutting down because of the lack of profit due to the lockdowns. This results to reducing employees. With this change, there are many people who have lost their stable job and their source of income. If they will not have enough source of income and purchasing power, they cannot provide learning materials for their children for their everyday class. Second one is the lack of familiarity and insufficient gadgets for them to use for their classes. These two causes have made an effect on students' focus in his or her class every day and later results into poor compliance of the student. Another factor which contributes to the compliance of the student is that not all of their houses are conducive for a learning environment. Unlike in schools, students are monitored by the school officials in their own classroom setting, but at home, there could be many possible distractions and the ambience of the house as well. Alongside with this are the personal family problems they must face and the responsibilities they must do. These two factors could result into students' poor compliance in their schoolworks and could lead into their lack of motivation and drive as a student. The second factor that can contribute into the students' lack of motivation is the sudden change of their life. As I have mentioned earlier, because of the pandemic, a strict lockdown was imposed to the whole country for the safety and to slow down the transmission of the virus. And because of this, students' normal life changed and was forced to stay at home with their families. And for others, it is very difficult because they cannot go out and meet with their friends just like they normally do. The third factor that can affect the students' performance is their inability to cope up with the changes in their learning environment. Connecting this into the COVID-19 pandemic and the inefficient government services and decisions that they are making. Also, we are not yet ready for the big shift for, for our online class. Yet, they have still decided to continue it even though they have seen discrepancies on their modules and lessons preferred for a short period of time. Lastly, our poor ICT infrastructure, which results into poor internet connection here in our country. Based on our research, our country has poor ICT infrastructure is because our government does not give enough focus and budget for it to be faster and be better for all. As a result, many students have struggled across the country searching for internet signals so that they can cope up with their online class and submission of academic works. If the cases of anxiety rate goes higher, it will result into different outcomes. First, because of the anxiety they have, students will feel emotionally and physically drained. Then it will affect every activity they are doing in a manner of they are not interested at all. Also, it could affect their future decisions and plans regarding their career and dreams. And in worst case scenarios, it could lead to suicide and death because they do not find the reason to live. Second major effect of the anxiety is that it will increase the rate of dropout in schools because students can no longer solve and handle their anxiety and mental health problems together with their school and personal life. And it will cause high unemployment rate due to the students who did not finish and achieve the college degree they are taking on. If this happens, it will affect the economic growth because first, they lack skilled workers, and second, they may not be employed because their skills and degree might not be qualified for the application. And if they will be having no job, they do not have source of income and purchasing power, and it will continue to increase poverty here in our country. The next one is the objective tree. The objective of our project is to decrease the cases of anxiety among college students around the vicinity of Menjola and Recto Manila. Unlike the problem tree, there are improvements that can be seen from the three major causes. Compliance to school requirements has seen a big improvement because of proper time management by college students. It is because of this that students have been able to properly balance their priorities when it comes to personal life. It is true here that they have learned how to schedule the tasks that they need to do. Students have become more focused on their studies because of having the complete school materials needed in the online class setting. Students have familiarized themselves more with the proper use of gadgets and internet in the everyday setting of online class. It is because of proper source of income and improved purchasing power that the students have been able to access all the materials that they need in the setting. Students have also become more motivated in their studies because of the face-to-face classes returning in a limited capacity. Another reason is also because of the friendly learning environment their houses have in being able to handle household responsibilities and withstand family problems adequately. Students are now also being able to cope up with the new normal because of proper distribution or procurement of learning materials, which made the Philippines ready for online class and with fast internet connections with less technical issues. The fast internet connection was a result of an improved ICT infrastructure here in our country. This happened because of improved government service and performance. It was also because of this that quarantine protocols became efficient, which resulted in limited face to face classes. The government's improvements also led to the end of COVID-19 pandemic and things returning to normal. If things will come back to the way they used to be, job opportunities will be open for the unemployed people who lost their work during the pandemic. It is because of this new opportunity that jobs were given to people once again, which in turn will improve their financial resources.
Wow. Thank you, reporters, for that very well explained introduction. I do agree indeed. Anxiety and mental health issue is the main problem here. So we really need to focus on it.
Yes, you know, Mr. Mahuka, this is a reality that we really need to prepare for.
That's right, Miss Bismanos. Now let's head on to our next part of our show.
Yes, I heard they have prepared different projects to help the college students to cope up with the anxiety and mental health problems that they are experiencing.
Mhm. To give us an overview about the project planning, may we recall on Mr. Del Rosario and Mr. Santos.
Good day, everyone. My name is Mr. Jasper Del Rosario, and today I will be explaining our project plan in a detailed narrative. Our project plan is designed to reduce and decrease the cases of anxiety around the vicinity of Medjola and Recto, Manila. Our main goal is to reduce the rising cases of anxiety among the college students during the pandemic. Our purpose, on the other hand, is to improve the academic performance of the students. Our three component objectives are addressed to first the students, second the parents, and lastly the government. And now we move on to the log frame matrix of our projects. For component objective number one, our first project is to organize and orient a core group. The purpose of this core group is to disseminate and implement our project planning into different universities and local government units around the vicinity of Medjola and Recto, Manila. Our second project is the routine interviews administered by the guidance and counseling offices through virtual meeting applications or any other social media platform. Now, the purpose of these routine interviews is that they will have a support system and a safe place wherein they can open up about their feelings and anxiety. Also, for the guidance counselor and schools to be aware of what is currently happening to their students. Our third project is the most important of all is a webinar regarding the topic on how to deal with anxiety and mental health problems during this pandemic. The purpose of this webinar is for them to have more knowledge about their situation and on how to handle the feelings and the mental health problems that they have. Our next project is a virtual chat box wherein they could go whenever they would like to talk instantly to someone and to ask
for an advice whenever they have simple problems or something to open about. The next program that we will be offering is a webinar regarding proper time management. The purpose of this activity is to teach college students on how they can balance their time when it comes to academics and personal life. Besides that, our group will also be designing planners or organizers for college students so that it can be easier for them to keep track on what assignments and other tasks they need to do. Another program that we will be offering is a webinar regarding proper diet and healthy lifestyle. The purpose of this program is to teach college students about the importance of good health. The next program will be similar because it is a physical fitness session where college students will participate so that they will be encouraged to become more physically active. Our next and last program for component objective number 1 will be an online kamustahan session where college students will participate in activities such as movie night and online games to help them relieve their stress from a tiring week of academics. And now we move on to component objective number 2. For the first program in component objective number 2, we will be organizing a webinar about the mental well-being of college students. This webinar, however, will include parents to give them a bigger idea on how the mental health of a student is being gradually affected in a time like this. We will also be conducting routine interviews and family counseling with the guidance office to monitor the situation between the student and parents so that we may know on how to resolve the conflict if there is to arise. And now we move on to component objective number 3. The first program that we will be offering here is a virtual job fair for parents who lost their work during the pandemic. The purpose of this activity is to give parents an opportunity to find new work so that they can provide for their families once again. The next program will be a webinar about proper budgeting. This activity will teach parents and college students on how they can properly manage their money during the ongoing pandemic. We will also organize another webinar about putting up a small business. This is to teach parents and students on how to handle a business and to give them other opportunities to make money. Another and the last program that we will be offering is a virtual help center. This is to help college students gain a better opportunity at gaining a scholarship from other colleges or universities. And now, to explain our conclusions and recommendations, here is Mr. Kobe Santos.
So, after all that we discussed, we concluded that the COVID 19 pandemic greatly affected all sorts of people from different types of demographics. Anxiety and other mental health problems became more prevalent during these times and should be put into everyone's mind to act upon it. That being said, our group would like to suggest that everyone who was affected by this pandemic should partake in discussions, seminars, and conferences to understand and learn from these activities on how to combat the pandemic. Push yourself to be more active so that not only our mental and economical health are improved, but also our physical health. We hope that our programs and this discussion will, at the very least, help you think about joining these types of activities, for they will surely help in combating against this pandemic.
Thank you for that wonderful intro explanation, reporters. Indeed, anxiety is really hard to cope up with. If you know someone who is going through with it, you should help them. Don't ever hesitate to help them. Help them, okay?
I agree with you, Mr. Mahuka. And on that note, we hope that our programs and presentation will be pushed not only for our fellow college students, but also for our fellow Filipino people to seek help and to actively join in spreading mental health awareness during these times. Thank you and God bless. I am Shania Jane Hariold Dismanos.
And I am Harvey Mahuka, and this is ANX Anxiety Anxiety to the new e-experience and life in the new normal amidst the pandemic. Thank you.
Audio Jungle.